Tennis star Novak Djokovic has won his appeal to stay in Australia so he can defend his Australian Open title. Hello, I'm Rob and welcome to News Review from BBC Learning English. Joining me today is Roy. Hello, Roy.
Hello, Rob, and hello, everybody. If you would like to test yourself on the vocabulary around this story, all you need to do is head to our website, bbclearningenglish.com, to take a quiz. But now, let's hear more about this story from this BBC News report.
The tennis world number one Novak Djokovic has won his appeal against a decision to refuse him a visa to enter Australia. A judge in Melbourne ruled he must be immediately released from immigration detention. But the Australian government has told the court it could still exercise its power to cancel the visa. Djokovic arrived at Melbourne Airport last week to defend his title at the Australian Open, which begins next Monday. He'd been given an exemption from COVID vaccination rules after recovering from the virus last month.
So, Novak Djokovic has won an appeal against the cancellation of his visa and can now stay in Australia and compete in the Australian Open. Djokovic, who arrived in Australia recently, believed that he was permitted to enter the country after recently recovering from the COVID virus and as a result was exempt from the COVID virus rules. The Australian government has said it could still cancel the visa.
And we've got 3 words and expressions we can learn about to help us talk about this story, haven't we? What are they, Roy?
Yes, we have. We have quashes, handed reprieve, and clearing path.
That's quashes, handed reprieve, and clearing path. Okay, let's take that first word, which appears in which headline, please?
Well, the first headline is from The Guardian, and it reads, Novak Djokovic released from immigration detention after Australian court quashes visa cancellation.
So that's quashes, rejects something officially.
Yes, so quashes is a verb and it's spelt Q-U-A-S-H-E-S. And it means to reject something officially. It's often used in a court of law, and we quite commonly hear it when it says that when a decision that was previously made, somebody has said that that decision is no longer accepted, so they quash a previous decision.
Okay, so it's no longer accepted. So this is interesting. In the case of this headline, we're saying that the judge says that the decision to cancel his visa was no longer accepted, yeah?
That's right, yeah. So, and we have other things. For example, if a person receives a conviction or they go to prison and then later on, somebody decides that a judge decides that punishment, that conviction is no longer valid, it's not accepted, they would quash that person's sentence.
Okay, and it's a strange word, quashes. I mean, it reminds me of the word squashes. When you squeeze something, you suppress something, when you squash something. Is there any kind of connection here?
Well, it's interesting that you say that because quash has a secondary meaning. And the secondary meaning of quash is basically to suppress something or stop something from happening. So, for example, if there's a rumor that you think is incorrect, you could quash that rumor. It means to suppress or prevent it from happening.
And another example, I guess, when there are protests in some countries, the authorities want to quash the protests, don't they? Want to suppress or stop that protest.
Correct, yeah.
Okay, let's have a summary of that word, please. We've talked about Novak Djokovic before here on News Review when he hit a ball at someone, didn't he, Roy?
Yes, and all you need to do to learn more about that story is click the link in the description below.
Yep, just down below there. Thanks, Roy. Okay, let's look at your next news headline, please.
So our next news headline comes from the website Tennis365, and it reads, Novak Djokovic handed reprieve as he is allowed to leave detention facility.
So that's handed reprieve, given cancellation of a punishment.
Right, so this is a 2-word expression First word, handed, Handed. Second word, reprieve, Reprieve. Now, handed means to be given something. So it's quite often used officially, you're handed something. And reprieve is the cancellation or the postponement of a punishment. Now, this headline relates to the fact that during the hearing, Novak Djokovic was allowed to leave the hotel where he was staying.
Okay. You've used the word handed there. I mean, I know what a hand is. Look, there's a hand. Very useful. They come in handy. What's that got to do with this headline?
Well, quite literally, handed means to pass something from one hand to another. It's a verb. So, for example, if we're in the office together and I say, I need a pen. Rob, could you hand me that pen, please? I mean, can you give me that pen? Sometimes it's used more figuratively, for example, in a court of law where they are given something. So you could be, for example, handed a reprieve in this sense, given a reprieve.
Yeah, so he was given a reprieve. So that means to end his punishment. Yeah, is that right?
That's absolutely right. That's what reprieve means, to cancel or postpone some kind of punishment. So in this case, he was staying in a detention center and he was given a reprieve.
Okay. And there's a kind of another meaning really to this expression as well, isn't there?
There is. It can mean sort of a welcome or a good kind of delay to something, a reprieve. So, for example, maybe a company is having financial problems and they risk going bust, going bankrupt. But at the last minute, they are given an emergency loan. We could say maybe they are given a reprieve from going bust.
Great, interesting stuff. Let's have a summary of that expression. Well, we were just talking about hands and how important they are when you hand something to someone. So it's important, therefore, to wash your hands. And we made a programme all about the importance of hand washing, didn't we, Roy?
Yes, we did. And all you need to do to watch that programme is click the link in the description below.
Yeah, down below. Great. Okay, let's have a look at our next headline, please.
Okay, so our next headline comes from the Washington Post, and it reads, Novak Djokovic wins case against Australia over cancelled visa, clearing path for him to play in Melbourne.
So that's clearing path, allowing something to happen or proceed.
Yes, so another two-word expression. The first word is clearing, Clearing. Second word, path, Path. Now, clearing here is being used as a verb and it means to remove things or obstacles. And path is talking about the way forward. So what it's actually saying is you are removing obstacles from the way ahead.
Okay, I know all about clearing paths. Where I live, I have a path in my front garden that leads from the road to the house. And I have to clear that sometimes because, particularly like, for example, when it snows, I clear the path from all the snow so that I have a clear passageway into my house, yeah?
Yes, and that's a very literal usage of the word path. It is something that we walk on, but we also use it more figuratively to mean the way forward, the way ahead, you know. But, for example, in the headline, when we're talking about clearing the path, you're talking about opening up the opportunity, opening an opportunity.
And clear can mean obvious and it's easy to see. Isn't that right?
Yeah, so as I said, clear in the headline is a verb, but we can also use it as an adjective. So you can say that something is obvious. So if we talk about a clear path, using that word path again, maybe you have a clear career path. You have an obvious career path. So you know exactly what you want to do in life and where you want to go throughout your career. A clear career path means obvious.
Well, thank you, Roy. You've made that very clear. So let's have a summary of that expression. Well, now it's time to recap the vocabulary that we've been talking about today.
Yes, we had quashes, rejects something officially. We had handed reprieve, given cancellation of a punishment, And we had clearing path, allowing something to happen or proceed.
Thank you, Roy. Now, if you want to test your understanding of these words and expressions, we have a quiz on our website at bbclearningenglish.com. That's the place to go for all our learning English resources. And don't forget, we're all over social media as well. That's all for today's news review. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.